Harry's team and said, you haven't got a case to answer for, and put it in pretty strong terms. However, Harry's team said we are going to appeal. Well, the judge who looked at the appeal said they do have a case to answer for, and with RAVEC, who are the body that determined security for members of the royal family.
At the NEXUS 2025 Summit in New York City, held just days ago on June 27th, Harry found himself enraged as CEO Rachel Gerrol flatly denied addressing him as Prince, delivering a public rebuke that has sent shockwaves from Buckingham Palace to Hollywood. This was not a private spat behind closed doors. It was a live, unscripted humiliation that exposed the Duke's fragile ego.
And it obviously is a grey area, because obviously Harry's team would say, look, I am a high-profile member of the royal family, and we can't disagree with that.
No.
That I'm always going to be, a security vulnerable person.
For those catching up, the NEXUS Global Summit is no ordinary gathering. It is a prestigious event bringing together over 350 young philanthropists, innovators, and changemakers from across the globe, all focused on tackling the world's pressing issues with measurable impact. Prince Harry, or rather Harry as he is now insisting, arrived expecting the red carpet treatment, buoyed by the reputation of his Archwell Foundation. But what he encountered was a room full of leaders who do not bow to titles, they demand results. And that is where the trouble began. Sources close to the event suggest Harry walked in with an air of entitlement, assuming his royal lineage and charity work would command automatic reverence. Oh, how wrong he was! His history of leveraging his title for attention, from Invictus Games to Oprah interviews, seemed to fuel his confidence, but NEXUS was a different beast.
If he goes to a royal palace or the like, the security around places are incredible. So this is the problem for RAVEC. How do they manage Harry in such a way that he deems that his family and children will be safe here? He says he wants full-blown. But
the incident unfolded during a fireside chat, a format meant for intimate, inspiring dialogue. Harry, however, veered off course, launching into a comparison that left the audience stunned. "We do not just connect, we create," he declared, his tone dripping with condescension. "We are not about talk, we are about transformation." The implication? That Archwell outshines the NEXUS platform in real-world impact. The room fell silent, the kind of silence that screams discomfort. For a man who has spent years decrying royal privilege, this was a toned flex, a royal ego on full display. And the philanthropists, many of whom have built their careers from the ground up, were not having it.
Country are getting fed up with this kid refusing to take no for an answer, throwing his toys out of the pram every time he gets told he can't have something, and using not just his own money stupidly to pay loads of lawyers, but making sure that the taxpayer.
One attendee later remarked, he sounded like he was auditioning for a throne, not a partnership. The contrast with his brother William's recent, dignified appearances only amplified the awkwardness. Then came the climax, delivered with the precision of a seasoned diplomat. Rachel Gerrol, the NEXUS CEO and a respected leader known for her grassroots vision, took the mic with a calm that belied the storm she was about to unleash. She addressed him simply as Harry, deliberately omitting the Prince title. It was not a slip, it was a statement. At NEXUS, leadership is earned through service, not status, she said, her voice steady and unapologetic. The message was clear. You may carry a title elsewhere, but here, you are judged by your deeds, not your DNA. For Harry, who has built a post-royal brand on rejecting hierarchy, this was a slap in the face wrapped in civility. The audience murmured, some nodding in approval, others exchanging incredulous glances. This was not just a correction.
My security comes first, and I should have it. It's not my decision. He was.
But he does have it. That's the point. When he comes here, he does get it, doesn't he? That's the whole ludicrous nature of the argument.
It was a public dismantling, a moment that echoed the palace's own rebukes he once fled. Harry's reaction was telling. Cameras caught every twitch as his polite smile vanished, replaced by a stiff posture and darting eyes. He scratched his neck, tapped his fingers, and avoided Rachel's gaze, a man unraveling under scrutiny. Insiders claim he was livid offstage, pacing backstage with a red face, muttering about being humiliated in front of the press. One source quoted him saying, "That was uncalled for." Uncalled for? Perhaps, but it was a mirror he clearly did not want to face. For an audience accustomed to his carefully curated image of the empathetic outsider, this was a rare glimpse of the real Harry, entitled, rattled, and out of his depth.
This as well. You know, it's all gone a bit quiet on the Meghan front, hasn't it? I mean, it was only a few weeks ago that she was telling us that she's got all these projects on the go, can't wait to get started, you know, all sorts of, you know, movies that are going to be made, you know, the polo documentary that he's doing, you know, the, the American Riviera orchard nonsense, you know, with 50 bottles of jam that have been sent out.
It is almost comical, is it not? How the man who left the monarchy to escape scrutiny cannot handle a single dose of it. His body language mirrored past tantrums, a pattern observers note with growing fatigue. But the fallout did not end there. Rachel was not done with the room's eyes on her. She addressed Harry's boast hidden. "We do not compare impact. We measure it by outcomes, not airtime," she stated, dismantling his claims with a quiet authority that needed no raised voice. Observers called it a masterclass in dignity, a takedown that did not mock but simply exposed. She reminded everyone that Nexus thrives on sweat equity and shared purpose, values Harry's foundation with its vague mission statements and stalled projects, struggles to embody. Archwell's track record has long been a soft spot, with critics pointing to unfulfilled promises since 2020, including a youth initiative that never launched. By comparing himself to Nexus, Harry invited scrutiny he could not withstand, and Rachel handed it to him on a platter. The public response has been swift and brutal. Social media erupted with hashtags like "Rachel was right," "No more Prince," and "Archifail" trending across X and Instagram. Comments praised Rachel's courage, with one viral post reading, "Finally, someone told Harry the truth to his face." Others were less kind, mocking his entitlement with quips like, "He wants to be a prince when it suits, but trashes the monarchy when it does not." Pick a lane. Even his staunchest supporters struggled to defend this misstep, with the consensus shifting from sympathy to skepticism. In the UK, where royal watchers are a captive audience, tabloids like The Sun and Daily Mail seized the moment, with Piers Morgan crowing, "Entitled, arrogant, and thin-skinned." Rachel gave him the reality check he needed. Public forums debate his motives, with some suggesting this reflects a deeper identity crisis since stepping back. Back in Montecito, the silence from Meghan is deafening. Just weeks ago, she was touting a slate of projects, movies, a polo documentary, that American Riviera orchard jam fiasco with its 50 bottles of hype. Now, with Harry's humiliation stealing the spotlight, she has retreated, leaving him to weather the storm alone, insiders suggest. This could strain their partnership further, with Harry reportedly frustrated by the lack of a unified front. Meanwhile, the palace remains silent, though some speculate this could embolden King William's camp to distance themselves further. Harry's claim of wanting security and freedom rings hollow when he demands respect he has not earned, a paradox that is not lost on the public. Whispers of a family reconciliation effort may now be dashed. So, what does this mean for the Duke? This Nexus episode marks a turning point. For years, he has positioned himself as a purpose-driven leader, free from royal constraints. But on June 27, 2025, before some of the brightest minds shaping the future, he chose ego over empathy, titles over teamwork, self-promotion over service. Rachel Gerrol reminded the world that real leadership is earned, not inherited or married into. Harry lost more than a title that day. He lost credibility, respect from his peers, and perhaps the public's faith in his transformation narrative. The US, once his safe haven, now sees the cracks in his empire. And as the dust settles, one question lingers: is this the beginning of the end for Harry's global influence? For those who have sensed his story did not add up, you are not alone. This is just the start. Subscribe for the latest on Archwell's future and the next royal reckoning, because the drama is far from over.